Convicted child sex abuser and suspected serial rapist Sean Williams has been sentenced to 95 years in federal prison. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Terry Craig. Williams was sentenced this morning in Greeneville. During his appearance, U.S. District Judge Ronnie Greer sentenced Williams to the maximum sentence for federal child porn crimes. That's 95 years. News Channel 11's Ansley Daniel and Jeff Keeling have the latest from federal court.
Judge Ronnie Greer had to consider multiple factors in Sean Williams' sentencing today, but like prosecutor Megan Gomez, he kept going back to one overarching theme in all of this. Now, this case is shocking, above all in the number of the alleged victims and the trauma that they endured. It's trauma that Greer said will continue for years, adding that the child victims from today's case have lost something that's important to a normal life, saying, quote, they will also suffer the one thing that marks victims of these kinds of offenses: the lack of ability to trust other people. But prosecutors, investigators, and even the judge point to other alleged victims, 2 other children whose cases could still be prosecuted, and a full 60 women authorities say that Williams drugged and sexually assaulted and filmed the encounters. Now, U.S. Marshal David Jolly met a number of those additional alleged victims as his agency handled Williams' custody and his court appearances over the past nearly 2 years. He agreed with what the judge put down.
Had plenty of opportunities to speak to several of the victims, and I can't even possibly relate to that kind of trauma, and it's not trauma that it's going to end with this court proceeding today. It's trauma that's going to follow them the remainders of their lives and some of them's kids' lives.
A former federal defender and state judge told us with many potential rape cases still pending, the level of victimization is staggering. Now, Jeff Keeling spoke with Tom Wright this afternoon. Jeff, tell us who Tom Wright is and what his thoughts are on all of this.
Yeah, so Tom Wright first used to be over the federal defender's office here, and then he became a local judge. And we spoke to him this afternoon. He said he believes that the eventual prosecution of some of those other cases is really very important, again, for victims to feel some closure. As prosecutor Megan Gomez and Greer both mentioned, those women are living with the trauma of having allegedly been drugged and raped by Williams.
I think that the district attorney's office is going to want to prosecute those for the same reasons, just to try to give those victims some closure, some feeling that they had their say-so, at least, against this fella.
So, Ansley, in some ways, you know, the apparent number of victims who've not yet had their day in court is pretty staggering. It's in the dozens. Yeah, and today when we were in the courtroom, we heard some of those victims and the family members of some of those victims audibly crying as the prosecutors were giving their statements and as the judge was handing the sentence down. That's right. I mean, and you know, this has been a very emotional case all along, and there's so much left to go, both in the civil side of things, and it looks like probably at some point at the state level with, again, more sexual assault charges and indictments looking likely anyway. We can't be certain, but it's certainly, there's prosecutors that are saying there's plenty of evidence to do that. So again, this is over in one way, but far from finished in another. But for now, in Greeneville, Jeff Keeling and Ansley Daniel, back to you.
Convicted child killer Megan Boswell has been transferred to a state prison. This, according to Sullivan County Sheriff Jeff Cassidy. Cassidy told News Channel 11 that Boswell was sent to a women's prison in Nashville. The Tennessee Department of Correction has Boswell listed as being in the Deborah K. Johnson Rehabilitation Center. Boswell will be transported back to Sullivan County for her sentencing hearing.